What is up, Dolphins fans? Training camp is over. It is time for the preseason finale. Dolphins versus Jaguars, 7 p.m. Saturday night, Hard Rock Stadium. Let's do this, baby. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk. I am your host, Chris Perkins, Dolphins columnist for the South Florida Sun Sentinel. That is David Furones, your Dolphins writer for the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Furones, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's a Friday, and wow, let's do this, baby. I've never heard that kind of an intro for a preview of a preseason game, but we're amped up. We just wrapped up training camp. We got one more of these to get out of the way, and then the real football begins in 2 weeks.
That's it, baby. September 7th is fast approaching. We want to welcome everybody who is watching on YouTube. We want to remind you that if you miss any part of this show, you can catch the podcast on Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast. We also want to tell you that we want to invite you, to get the Fins Flash, our weekly newsletter. You can get that by scanning the QR code that is shown on your screen. So, training camp is over. We're going to talk about the highs and lows from training camp. We're also going to talk about what we want to see in that preseason finale. Mike McDaniel said the starters will play a little bit, and Tua seems very excited to start. We're also going to talk about the roster cuts, 4 p.m. Tuesday. That's the deadline to go from 90 to 53. We know the Dolphins are probably going to hit the waiver wire pretty hard. And in our long-anticipated Furones bonus, he will tell us what he learned on that 11-day marathon road trip to Chicago and Detroit. As we always say around here, there's an ocean of possibilities. Let's dive in. There we go, baby. We are in mid-season form. I like it. All right, so Furones, the highs and lows of training camp, the injuries have been a low, right? And we can talk about those later. But let's talk about some of the highs. I think the Tua to Jalen Waddle connection, to me, is a definite high. And, that kind of ties into an injury with Tyreek being out for the OTAs and minicamp due to right wrist surgery, and then recently in training camp due to an oblique injury. But that Tua Waddle connection, Furones, what do you think is the potential of that? I think it's very high. I think it's going to be relied upon heavily, considering that the Tua Tyreek connection, it's probably going to take a little bit of time. There's no tight end to speak of. We'll talk about Darren Waller later and what they're missing there, going from Jonnu to Waller. Devon Achane, talking on injuries, also has a calf injury. So we don't know how available he'll be for that September 7th opener. But look, I'm looking at Tua to Waddle as being money. We've seen that on deep passes, short passes, intermediate passes, out slants. It seems like that connection has gotten stronger. I mean, they go back to Alabama, but what do you see? None of the DBs have been able to handle those dudes.
Yeah, and it's not something that should be any surprise. It's something they should be doing because we've seen it so much from Tua and Jalen Waddle. But, yeah, it does come into question this year because last season went the way it did, not only with Waddle, as he had his worst year as a Dolphin, but also Tyreek Hill had his worst year as a Dolphin. And Tua missed 6 games, and even when they were all together, there were fewer and fewer occasions where they had those epic, big games where – like you saw both of them go for 100 yards. I think we only see it one time, maybe twice. Maybe it was Jacksonville and the Jets last year. Yeah. They had the home game against the Jets. But for me, so yeah, I mean, that's a little bit of a high. For me, the biggest high of training camp is discovering what Patrick Paul has looked like at left tackle, which has been really, I mean, phenomenal. I don't want to overplay it, but he came out of the league so raw and he always had those physical tools, and so you knew he had that. He just had to polish his game, and it looks really polished right now. During training camp, he's had opportunities to go up against a lot of Bradley Chubb, locking him down in one-on-one, some Chop Robinson, and those matchups go back and forth some, which is good to see both of them. As every NFL player will say, iron sharpening iron, right? Right? The old cliche. It wasn't me saying. I didn't resort to the cliche. But I'm quoting.
You're better than that. Yeah.
But Yeah, so I mean, seeing the training camp he's had has been nice. Maybe finding some of these training camp revelations, like Willie Gay has
Yep.
been, maybe more so early in camp. I think we've seen him just have more of a quiet second half of camp, but he did so much at the start of camp, so you can't expect every practice to look like it did at the start. And just seeing what this rookie class is about. I think the Dolphins really have something in this rookie class. It's a deep one, but yeah, more so than just the guys at the top, like Kenneth Grant and Jonas Avai-Naya. Obviously, you want to see them from the start, but like Jason Marshall Jr. has really turned it around as a cornerback recently, going from that Detroit preseason game. Maybe a little bit one of those joint practices I saw him make some plays, the second one particularly. To the joint practice he just had against the Jaguars, going against Brian Thomas Jr., he looked good. So that's a top receiver in the league right there. So between Marshall, Jordan Phillips, some Zeke Biggers, Quinn Ewers, that last preseason game, I know he's been up and down. You don't see him a lot in the joint setting, but nice second preseason game for him. As far as the lows, it's definitely that you haven't had much of Tua with Tyreek Hill. That's obviously a big question mark, as I alluded to earlier, especially the down year that Tyreek had last year, the way last season ended, the now multiple references that Tua has made to that the relationship still needs to be rebuilt, and then with the CBS 4 interview saying that they have two very different personalities. That's probably not breaking news, but he still felt the need to note that. But through that, you've also had to get to work with the Washingtons more, Malik and Taj, and that connection has looked strong with both of them. D. Eskridge, who Tua said, hey, he is coming along strong and is having a nice camp. But other lows, definitely the attrition right now in the running back room, losing Alexander Madison for the year. That's tough. And then now Jalen Wright, we don't know the situation right now, but we just saw him come off the practice field yesterday, the final practice of training camp. So you hope he's all right, but that's a little bit concerning. And plus you're still a little concerned about the cornerback and backup O-line depth there. So those are still some of the lows, but maybe some of those are coming along a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and Furones, just going back to the injuries, think about the offensive line, what they've had. Aaron Brewer has been out. He's back. Austin Jackson has been out. Liam Eichenberg, Andrew Meyer, the offensive tackles, right? I mean, we had Afidi go out. Yadni Kajus go out. Obina Ezi go out.
Right after he came in. He
was
in and out.
I think Kajus was 11 days, right? And
no.
Or he was 4. He was 4. And it's been.
He didn't even play in the preseason game that he was there for. He didn't really practice that day in Detroit, and then it was an off day before the preseason game. He didn't play in the preseason game, so we never really saw him.
No, and I mean the offensive line injuries have been really, it's you don't want to make a huge deal about it because it's been a lot of reserves aside from Brewer and Austin Jackson, but. Yeah, they've been hit hard. I will say this on the positive. One thing that I've liked is the increase in physicality and aggression. And, we've talked about on here before how the last couple of years they built up the line of scrimmage. When you look at Chop Robinson and Patrick Paul last year as the top 2 draftees, Kenneth Grant, Jonas Avai-Naya this year. They got James Daniels in free agency. They did have Alexander Madison, but he's out now. But Ollie Gordon II has shown a little bit more physicality from the backfield. You look at the defensive front 7, and you've got some physicality there. You mentioned Chubb and Phillips. You got Jordan Brooks and Terrell Dodson. You mentioned Willie Gay, KJ Britt. I'm not going to call this a tough team, but they're a tougher team than last year. What are you seeing as far as the physicality, and is it enough to compete with teams like Buffalo and Baltimore and Cincinnati and Tampa Bay, some of the tougher teams on the schedule?
Yeah. Tougher is how I would describe the Dolphins right now. Yeah. You're not putting them up there as, like tough guys around the league. And it is interesting because there's only so much you can determine from training camp. You're not out there live tackling. You're not supposed to be, at least. the Bears did against
Yeah.
the Dolphins
Right.
in the first preseason, first joint practice that they had out there at Hallis Hall in Lake Forest, Illinois. So yeah, it wasn't like they were just completely disregarding the rules. It was just some of those thuds. Then they just continued through the play and wrapped around, threw a guy down, things like that. Maybe Tyreek Stevenson coming through on the hit on Jalen Waddle was one of them. I remember another play, a safety, Owens hitting Ezukama coming across the middle. That's not what you're supposed to do in the practice setting. So I know a lot of people maybe debate it. Well, shouldn't they hit back now? Once you see they're doing it, but that would go against what you want to do in the practice setting anyway. And Aaron Brewer just yesterday talked about it. He said that was some fake physicality that they were showing. Was that the term he used, fake physicality?
Yep.
Which it kind of is. It's not. It's like if you're going into playing a flag football game and then the opponent is expecting to just have the flag taken and you go and tackle the guy. Well, they're not ready for a tackle because you're not supposed to be tackling.
Right.
So it's not a direct comparison. They're not playing flag football, obviously, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So when both sides aren't in agreement, this is what we're doing. Which is what it's going to be when the regular season comes and when we really do get to see what the physicality looks like, which that will be the true test. But I do feel like this team will be more physical, and then how much will be determined once they start playing real tackle football.
Yeah, I think that's been a positive of camp. And before we get to some of the other positives, let's welcome in some of our friends here. Mark Henry, he's here on Mark Heavy. I'm sorry, here on time. I like to see that. Fitzgerald Grass, Ender Fireplays, YZ. Carl Becker, come checking in from Seguin. I know it's hot there. Sean Heller, what's going on? Mass Productions, Edward, RV, AV, Pretty Boy, Dead Street, Cap for Life, Dougie Fresh. Who else we got on here? Good crew. Hamza CH, Mr. Fanatic. Good to see all of y'all here. Thanks for joining us. Darren Waller, where is he on your list of training camp stories? He's a big question mark, right? He's a big mystery. I don't understand what's going on here, Furones. I was a little skeptical when they acquired him, getting somebody out of retirement and trading for him, although, they didn't give up much, so that's not a big deal. But just the way that they've brought him along, you're missing those 88 receptions that Jonnu Smith gave you last year, and there's not a direct replacement for that, and there doesn't have to be. But when you got Waller, I thought he would be on the field by now. That's the biggest thing. I don't understand what the holdup is here. How do you get into football shape without playing football? And so now we're at the final preseason game, and I don't expect he's going to do much, if anything, on Saturday night, tomorrow night against Jacksonville, right? Yeah. And so his debut is going to be, you didn't want to put him out there in joint practices. So now where he would be going 60 miles an hour, now he's going to be going 100 miles an hour in the regular season game. Make this make sense, Furones. What's going on here?
Well, you're asking the wrong guy to make it make sense. I can't make it make sense. I'm as confused, as perplexed as you are, because, I feel like you do need that build-up. And that's kind of what training camp is exactly for. It's training for the regular season.
Right.
That's why it's in the name, is to get trained before the season. And it kind of just passed Darren Waller by. And the Dolphins still did activate him off the PUP list. So now he's going to be on the roster now come Tuesday and then going into your opener. So now you need to get him ready in 2 weeks' time when he hasn't had a real practice yet. It's just so mind-boggling. At first, I could buy it to start he's coming out of retirement. Day one of training camp, you're not going to have him out there on the practice field going at like all the guys who were doing OTAs in mini camp and, the tight ends vying for roster spots. You figure like Tanner Connor is in more football shape. Darren Waller's in great shape, but like a guy like Tanner Connor in the tight end unit, Julian Hill, Farrell Brown, they've been working at football through the offseason, through the whole offseason program, OTAs, minicamp. All right, I get that. But when that happened, I would have envisioned a timeline more like we saw from Ifeatu Melifonwu, where then maybe like a week later, okay, now he's being incorporated into practices. Now, all right, he's slowly ramping up, and now he gets a few snaps in team drills. And then, okay, you can ease him into some of these joint practices. Not so with Darren Waller, because then he wasn't doing any individual drills before the joint practices. Well, then you get there, and Mike McDaniel says, well, that we're not going to bring him back for the first time when it's against an opponent. And, well, good thing he didn't, because the Bears were tackling to the ground.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Then Detroit is also a very physical team.
Yep.
And, well, good thing he did it there because they had physicality on their side. And even then, but how come at some point you couldn't just have him do some of the individual drills just to before the teams get together on the same field? These joint practices, they always start one team, Dolphins are on one field, they're doing all their indie stuff. Yep. Start getting him going in that regard. And then maybe you could have worked him up to some snaps against the Jacksonville Jaguars in that joint practice. But I don't know. Even when he was activated, then it's not like we even really saw him do anything out there on the practice field. Did you see anything beyond stretch for him? So it's very confusing.
Nope. Yeah, no, I didn't see any individual drills, no one-on-one, no 11-on-11, nothing. So, yeah, that's a mystery. Let me talk about something else that I'm excited about, Furones. That's that defensive front seven and Anthony Weaver. I've said I think Anthony Weaver should have gotten an orange jersey one day, because the stuff that he's bringing at this offense with the front seven, and he's a miracle worker for doing this, being so deficient at cornerback. But this defense is causing some problems for the offense, especially recently. We've seen some coverage sacks for Tua. Here goes the cough. No, I've got this cold. The eyes are starting to water.
Wow, muting it live. The live
I know. What do you think about that?
I thought you would only do that if I was talking and you had to talk.
Yeah, I know.
But mid-sentence, mute. So we don't have to hear you cough into the mic. We appreciate you, Perkins.
Exactly. So, yeah, the more I talk, the worse this gets. So, which people have known for years. But anyway, that front seven, I really like what they're doing. I like the aggression. Kenneth Grant has been out recently, but I really like what they've got there. I want to see the Matthew Judon addition. What that's going to do. But Furones, take it away. Tell me what you think about that. Tell me what you see from that front seven and their potential.
Okay, yeah, and speaking of a player getting thrown right into it, Matthew Judon was just signed. I mean, we were just talking about Darren Waller in the slow progression. Now, Judon wasn't retired last year, and obviously he's done a great job keeping himself in football shape on his own. But first practice, he's out there, and he is balling. I mean, against the Dolphins offense, had a couple sacks, one that would have been a strip sack. Yeah, he's not working against first teamers or anything. It was against Zach Wilson and obviously the backup tackles that he was facing, not up to par with Matthew Judon, to put it lightly. But I mean, saw some versatility in his game, the setting the edge and run defense, and even in coverage one time, keeping up with, I think it was Tanner Connor. So a lot to like about Matthew Judon right away. And this front seven, because it was already a big three. Now you still have some questions with Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips coming off their injuries, season-ending knee deals. Bradley Chubb couldn't play at all last year from it. Jalen Phillips, he had now double season-ending injuries, an Achilles and an ACL. Yep. So, you do have a little bit of questions of if they will be the same pass rushers they were before. Chop Robinson, obviously ascending right now as a second-year player who had 6 sacks. And then up front on the D-line, obviously you have Zach Sealer to anchor that. And you like what you're seeing out of Kenneth Grant so far. And then Jordan Phillips is a beast. And Zeke Biggers can do some things at his size. So, plus, they might keep one of the other guys between they have Benito Jones, obviously, as a nose. But between Dickerson and Matthew Butler, maybe one of them ends up on this team. But Yeah, I mean, I like everything I see from the edge rushers, the D line, and of course inside backers led by Jordan Brooks. We got to see how he's doing with that injury issue that popped up at the end of Thursday's joint practice. Tyrell Dodson there, and then obviously Willie Gay has been pretty versatile in that linebacker core. So I'm excited to see how that plays into things come time for the regular season.
Yeah. So we're going to see what that front seven can do. I think. Look, I've said that if the offense can average 25 points per game, and that front seven can come around and carry a big part of the load for the cornerbacks. I think you've got a decent team. I've predicted 9 wins for this team. I think you can do some good work with this team from what you've got there. So we'll see what they've got. Finally, let me ask you this. Okay, let me ask you this. How big is the cornerback deficiency? Do you need to get Rasul Douglas? Do you need to go outside the roster?
Well, I'll tell you, in the last week or so, I've actually felt more inclined to trust the cornerbacks a little bit more. I'm liking what I've seen recently from Jason Marshall, how he's come along. I think Jack Jones really bounced back from that first Detroit joint practice where he said it. I'm on Raw, cooked them. All right. He said it himself, cooked them, and the way he came back from that has been really nice. Seeing him in the preseason game, in the practices since. Now it does hurt that Ethan Bonner right now is dealing with a hamstring injury because he was one that was kind of coming along a little bit right before that injury deal. Kendall Sheffield, who is a great story as a rookie minicamp tryout as a veteran who actually hasn't played a regular season game or started a regular season game since 2022, gets on the training camp roster through a tryout at rookie minicamp, is the old guy in the room, like the Steve Buscemi meme, like "Hello, fellow kids," and he's in there running with the first team at different points, and but right now he's dealing with a minor injury as well. So, I mean, Storm Duck, obviously, I think he's the guy that's up top there, which it's tough when you have a 2024 undrafted free agent now coming in second year. He's your top cornerback. Things like that happen when a Kader Kohu goes down at the start of training camp. You brought Mike Hilton in for a veteran nickel. So I'm more inclined to trust them a little bit. It's still going to be a big question mark, though, because still it's one of the it'll rank very low in league circles, and you're still going to need the front seven to do a lot of the work to pick up the secondary, and Minkah Fitzpatrick to help mask some of what the corners are doing.
Right. I agree. So your final takeaway from training camp, more positive than negative? I think it's more positive, even considering the cornerback situation and the backup offensive line situation and some of the injuries that have happened. I still think training camp was more positive than negative. I'm excited about the prospects. Again, I picked 9 wins, so I think that's mediocrity. You can take that any way you want, but I'm more excited about the season after seeing training camp and seeing these rookies, these draft, like Patrick Paul, like you mentioned. I mean, come on. I'm more excited. I think training camp was more positive than negative.
Yeah, I'm with you on all those fronts because I also had this team going 9-8. It's not like training camp was gonna make me swing one way or the other big time, unless there was an injury to Tua or a season-ending deal to Tyreek, something like that, where then you're like, okay, now it's about to be disastrous. But nothing like that from training camp. Yeah, if anything, a little bit more encouraged because I think the Dolphins have a young core that's coming around. So yeah, if you are transitioning from that win now window of the past few years where you were so dependent on Tyreek Hill, on that you brought in Jalen Ramsey, that you brought in Teron Armstead, you made all these moves, Bradley Chubb in a trade deadline move, 2022. It was all this talent acquisition to win now. And then now you got to transition to building through the draft again. And I like this rookie class. We got to see it once the real games are played. But This rookie class and also the second-year players, Devon Achane as a third-year player, just a nice young core where you even expanded to Storm Duck as a corner who was undrafted.
Right.
Chop Robinson is last year's first-round pick. Patrick Paul coming around as a second-round pick last year. This rookie class with Kenneth Grant, Savai Naya, Jordan Phillips, Jason Marshall, maybe some Zeke Biggers, Ollie Gordon, who right now would be the RB1 because Devon Achane is also dealing with a calf injury. Exactly. Hopefully Achane's okay by week 1 because you're really looking at Ollie Gordon carrying it all with every running back going down before the opener. But I think Achane will be fine. But I like Ollie Gordon as well.
Yeah. And so as you talk about that, let's switch over to segment 2 and what you want to see or what you expect to see tomorrow night. We know that Tua is going to play. Some of the starters are going to play. Well, we don't know that Tua is going to play. We assume that Tua is going to play, I should say. It looks like he's going to play. But what are you looking to see from those starters? With Tua, I'll say this. I just want to see him have some rhythm, I think he was 5 for 6 in his previous appearance against Chicago. I think something like that. I thought he was something like that, but I thought he had a decent rhythm out there, and obviously stay healthy. I want to see some of this offensive line aggressiveness, even if it's not the starters. I want to see some of this offensive line aggressiveness take root. I want to see some good runs on first and second down with Ollie Gordon running in the middle. I want to see the defense making some plays. This team under Mike McDaniel, they are -10 in takeaway giveaway over the 3 years. So I want to see that trend start to reverse itself. A couple of years ago, they had the 56 sacks, but I want to see more takeaways, more playmaking ability. I don't need to see a pick 6, but some pass breakups, some pressures on the consistent pressure on the quarterback, things like that. I want to see some indications that things are going to be different, that there are philosophical and strategic changes being made with Robert Prince, the new wide receivers coach, Bobby Slowick, the senior pass game coordinator. Let's see what Anthony Weaver does to make up for this lack of experience at the cornerback position. That's kind of really what I want to see is some strategic philosophical changes with the Dolphins.
Okay, yeah. I don't know if you're going to get the whole philosophical change.
Well, no, but just running the ball on first and second down and things like, they're not going to show, things. We're not going to see exotic blitzes and things that they're going to show against Indy, but just some indications, because in the first couple of games, the Dolphins are working on the Dolphins. And so let's see them finish this off. And that's what everybody does in the preseason, right? You're not game planning. You're working on your team. You're trying to get things down so that when you do go into that season opener, it's not all foreign concepts. You're used to doing these things. And so let's finish it off the right way. We've seen some indications against Chicago and Detroit of physicality, and you saw some 8-man fronts against Detroit, and they had some success running the ball against that. Finish it off strong.
Yeah, I hear you. This is really the dress rehearsal, I guess, which you don't see as much nowadays in preseason football or in recent years. Maybe we're starting to see a little renaissance of the rehearsal across league circles. That's what Mike McDaniel said. He wants to get everyone, the starters, going through the routine of truly preparing for a home game. And this is where the Dolphins will be playing half their games. 8 of the it's an odd number, so you're not going to get exactly half. They have one neutral site, home game taken away in Madrid, but I don't think anyone's complaining about having to go there. But this is what the routine that a lot of these players will have to get used to, of getting to the stadium, going to player parking lot. I mean, I'm talking about from the beginning, like player parking lot into the facility, locker room, get dressed, go through your routine, pregame warm-ups, and then all you got to do is just get you say 2 series. I'm thinking it might even be 1. Maybe it depends on how the first series goes. Right. For either side, the offensive and defensive starters. But Just get them in there, get them through the routine, keep them healthy first and foremost. As far as your starters go, that's the main thing I want to see. And yes, hopefully there is a rhythm too. For Tua, it's a bonus that he will get Jalen Waddle. That would be a difference from playing the first preseason game where it was in Chicago. Jalen Waddle, like Tyreek Hill, was sitting it out after he took the big hit from Tyreek Stevenson in that joint practice. But Tyreek Hill, he still won't go in this one. So you don't get that for Tua going into it. You don't have him with the right tackle in Austin Jackson. You won't have him with his running back in Devon Achane and someone else. I'm missing. He won't have Darren Waller for sure.
Right.
For sure. So a lot of maybe what you're anticipating for Tua, he won't have around him. He's built with Malik Washington, whom he found 4 times in that preseason opener, that one drive, right? Was it 4 that he hit Malik Washington, including a third down, including a fourth down conversion to keep that series going. He can hit Taj Washington, who has shown some open field moves. He can hit D. Eskridge. I want to see him hit Nick Westbrook-Akine because that's a connection we really have not seen. Boy, your face.
Yeah.
You have no poker face. Let me tell you.
I'm kind of down on that relationship, and it's mostly due to NWI. I mean, come on. Like, come on. You're here for a reason.
You're more down on that relationship than the Tua Tyreek relationship, huh?
But yes, I am. Actually. I've seen Tua Tyreek go for $17.99 or whatever that number was. $17.10 the first year, $17.99 the second year. I've seen that one. So I want to see NWI be the big target, third downs, red zone, goal line. I want to see him live up to that situational answer that he was brought here to be. And let me ask you about this, Furones.
Before we switch off that, if that drive ends in a Tua lob up touchdown to NWI, that would be golden. I think that would put a bow on training camp and the preseason because it's something we haven't seen yet. It's something that NWI is expected to do. Boy, so let's add that to it. If Tua throws up a possession receiver touchdown to NWI, who, by the way, we've talked to him, and I think he has a lot more of a personality like Tua than Tyreek. If Tua's mentioning that him and Tyreek do not have similar personalities. NWI certainly has a Tua-like personality, I would say. Closer.
Yeah, he does. He does. He's chill. He's nice. He's pleasant. Yeah, I like NWI. I want to see him produce. Let's go out here to our chat line, and we're talking about what we want to see in the Jacksonville finale. Edward says, play or trade JP. Is he made out of glass? So that goes along with Dead Street saying, will we trade for Brian Robinson Jr.? And if Tommy Cutlets gets cut, should we look at him? So let's talk about some answers here. I mean, can you afford to get off of one of these edge rushers? I say no, because I don't know what I'm going to get out of Jalen Phillips. Health-wise, I don't know what I'm getting out of Bradley Chubb. I want these guys to be a force, a deep playmaking force. I'm keeping them all. I know Judon is here, and we'll get into the roster cuts later. I'm not trading them. Brian Robinson Jr. from Washington, the running back, if he's waived, I wouldn't trade for him. If he's waived, I would show some interest in him because he does show that straight-ahead power that you hope to get with Alexander Madison. You hope that you're going to get from Ollie Gordon. But I probably wouldn't take any chances. Ollie Gordon is a rookie, so I want to make sure that I have that on the field. I'm keeping my edge rushers, and if Brian Robinson Jr. is available, I'm probably making a run at him on the waiver wire. Just as of stuff you want to see tomorrow night and how it fits in with trades. I mean, what are you thinking? Jalen Phillips, Brian Robinson Jr., do you need another quarterback?
Yeah, well, so on Brian Robinson, quickly, I don't know if I would be taking that cap hit. So that's probably not something that you trade for. And sorry, what else were you asking?
Jalen Phillips. Is he? Yeah.
Oh, hold on, wait. We have breaking news here. Actually, while we've been on. So on the subject of Brian Robinson, I just checked Twitter to see what the latest. Commanders trading him to the 49ers. So there you go. It was for a 2026 sixth-round pick. So there's that. Similar offense, the 49ers, where Mike McDaniel came from. And actually, according to Mike Garofalo, the Commanders have agreed to take on some of the $3.4 million owed to Brian Robinson. So there is that.
Wow.
That settles that.
There we go. Yep, that's all right. So, so there you go. Dead street. That's the answer to that one. What do you think about the backup quarterback situation? Is there anything that you would see tomorrow night that would make you feel that it's set, or that you need to go outside the roster? I think Zach Wilson is the good choice for the number 2 quarterback. I know there's been some talk about Quinn Ewers overtaking him. I trust Zach. He hasn't shown us a whole lot, but he's the experienced guy. And I'll go with the experienced guy initially over the unproven rookie. So I'm pretty much going to stick with Zach, the $6 million man, the direct calculated target of Mike McDaniel.
Exactly. You just said it right there. He better be the backup.
Right. Exactly.
That was such a huge offseason question after you just had Tua Tagovailoa miss 6 games, and the Dolphins, was it 2-4 in those 6 games that he missed? So that your season went awry because of your backup quarterback situation last year. And granted, yes, every team is going to be worse off with its backup quarterback than it is with its starter, of course. Right. So we know that. But we also know Tua is injury prone and has only made it through 1 season in his previous 5 NFL seasons fully healthy. So the Dolphins particularly need to have a strong backup quarterback situation because of this. And their top choice was Zach Wilson, who is still, by and large, a project. And I think he hasn't shown anything in preseason and in training camp to move you off that belief that the Dolphins have already figured it out with them. This is why I was always saying I was looking for a more proven, veteran, established backup quarterback who can run the offense effectively, can be reliable out there in the games where he fills in for Tua. Zach Wilson still kind of feels more like a Mike McDaniel reclamation project. I see him. I see the potential. I feel I can save him, and that's sort of what he wants to do more so than what was best for this team to do for the 2025 season in the event where it does occur how it has 4 of the 5 seasons Tua has been in the NFL where he does miss time.
Yep. And a few of our viewers had told us that Brian Robinson was gone. Douglas Anderson told us that. Cap for Life told us that. Appreciate that. What's up to Basketball Jones? What's up to Kenna Rankin? Let's see. And Pretty Boy told us that also. So we appreciate that.
You got to stay up on the chat, Perk. The fans are telling us what's going on. Well, we're busy here locked in producing a program.
That's right.
So we don't have to go searching Twitter for the news. They're telling us. They're giving us.
They are telling us. And I was up at the further part, the older part of the chat here. So that's on me for not keeping up here. Let me ask you this. What's up to PDC also? I just saw something from Basketball Jones here. Oh, Weaver implementing press coverage. So about stuff that we want to see tomorrow, because this gets into the cornerback thing. This gets into what Jack Jones was saying. Jack Jones was saying part of the reason he got cooked by Amon-Ra St. Brown is that it's the press coverage, that he's an off corner and they want him to be up and aggressive. And he was saying that this is different for him. It's new. He was telling me that it's the footwork that's more difficult than using his hands. So he's the only one that I see out there actively, like really going at it with guys at the line of scrimmage, more than Storm Duck, more than Cam Smith, more than Jason Marshall. My question to you is, do you trust Jack Jones at this point? And what would make you want to go out and get another corner? I'd probably go out and get another corner after the roster cuts are made, because I like what I see from Jack Jones. I don't know if I can trust him. I don't know if I can trust Mike Hilton. I don't know if I can trust Cam. Well, I know I can't trust Cam Smith. Sorry, Cam. I feel good about Jason Marshall Jr., but he's never played the position. I think you need some help there, especially when you've got somebody like Jack Jones playing a new technique. What do you feel about that cornerback position? What do you want to see tomorrow? And what do you think about hitting the waiver wire?
Yeah, I mean, all offseason, we were expecting the Dolphins to go after one of those top remaining corners. And really, I mean, yeah, I'm sure Mike Hilton, maybe his name would get thrown out there. We knew Jack Jones was there, but we would never really mention them. When it was open, who were we talking about? We were talking about Rasul Douglas. We were talking about Asante Field Jr., who that neck issue is probably much more than any of us really knew, as we were talking about it throughout the offseason. Maybe a Bradbury or a Stephon Gilmore. Even brought up Xavier Howard, who is now going to be he will be there for the Dolphins opener. He'll just be playing against the Dolphins at Lucas Oil Stadium with the Indianapolis Colts. But the guys that they did bring in, those weren't really the ones we were talking about. And now Mike Hilton was mostly because he was a nickel, and you felt you had your nickel. The one position you thought you had was the nickel in Cater Kohu, but now he's going to miss the season, so that made it a natural fit. Now you got to go get the top nickel that's out there. So he fit right in with that. Can you trust Jack Jones? He's been better the past week. He did get cooked by Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's not to say just because he's been better in the past week, it's not to say that if he went up against a receiver of the caliber of Amon-Ra St. Brown again, that he wouldn't just get cooked again. The result might be the same. Maybe he's a little bit closer in coverage sometimes, but he's still cooking him. But can you trust him? I think throughout his career, he's been a big gambling type corner. Like, he can make the big play for you because he's going to take a chance and cut off a route, especially when he does play that off technique and try to jump a route. But then he can also bite and get beat because of it, double move or sometimes just a regular route and still get beat. So he's a little bit of a liability because of that. He gambles. He can make the big play, but he can give up a big play just the same. He's playing a new technique. So some press coverage, maybe that will force him into not gambling as much, not just biting from the position being farther back. And he seems kind of natural with his hands at playing this technique. So it seems like he's got it in him. But yeah, the footwork will still be something to catch up on, as he has mentioned. But yeah, I still believe. I mean, if the Dolphins want to be the type of defense that they want to be, then yeah, you probably do need to hit either the free agents or the waiver wires. The thing is, whoever gets cut, it's not going to be like a CB1. It's not going to be like an immediate throw him in to be your starter. That's Storm Duck. You've already decided Storm Duck is your top, unless you go with Rasul Douglas and are able to bring him in. But even then, you got to get him incorporated very quickly. And with this secondary, we saw how that went. New faces in the secondary that didn't work a lot together in training camp. Javon Holland hadn't played with Jordan Poyer, and Kendall Fuller hadn't been out there a lot. And we saw they struggled a lot back there last year. So it could very much be a similar situation. So the Dolphins will probably consistently need to continue finding help at corner.
Yeah. Let's see here. Dead Streak says this is going to sound weird, but get some salted prunes. Takes your sore throat and cough right away. Tastes like pure garbage, though. All right, we'll see. We'll see on that topic. All right. So now we have reached the time we've all been waiting for. It is the Furones bonus.
Oh, the Furones bonus.
I love it, baby. I love it. All right. So Furones is going to educate us on what he learned and saw on that 11-day road trip to Chicago and Detroit. Furones, what were your best takeaways? Give me some highlights, on field and off field.
Okay, so off field too. So maybe I could take you through my journey through the Midwest in the summer. To start, I'll go a little personal, and then also, what I saw from the Dolphins throughout. First, getting in there, kind of late at night into the Chicago area because I covered a Wednesday training camp practice of the Dolphins. Where they even released the depth chart right before I was about to start heading out. So, Perk, you wrote that to get it up on our site. As I was in the Uber just tweeting away at what I was noticing on the depth chart. Get out there to O'Hare and then get a rental car to go because the Bears facility, Hallis Hall, that's out there, northwest of Chicago. Players were talking about the bus rides because they were staying in the city. They were staying downtown, so it was like more than an hour to get out there and to come back. So that's why for the Dolphins practice and for the joint practice with the Bears, for the nights before those, I had my hotel out in Lake Forest, Illinois, just like right at the same exit for
Nice.
Howard Hall. So I did have my rental car to get out there, and I just quickly had to just cross over the highway and then turn into there, and I was at their facility. So that was convenient. I was, it was more quiet out there, of course. So it's not like I was out and about. But then get to cover the joint practice. That's when I already checked out. Get down to return the rental car to O'Hare, and then it's surprising how many times we've been to Chicago on this beat.
Yeah.
Like 2021, you weren't with us, but that was my first year. The Dolphins had a joint practice. That was my first joint practice that I ever covered, and they played a preseason game there. 22, they play at Soldier Field in a regular season game.
Yep.
And actually, last year, I finagled a night in Chicago out of the Green Bay trip. So I drove up from Chicago to Green Bay on Thanksgiving Day. As I was listening to Matt Eberflus on the radio blow the end of the game by keeping the timeout in his back pocket.
That's right.
So that was an experience in its own. But since I know Chicago so well now, I know I could just drop the rental car off at the airport, take the blue line down into the city, right? So I got the train situation down. So then, we have a nice dinner, media beat dinner that the Dolphins PR staff throws for the traveling media. So sad we didn't have you there this year, Perk. But always a nice event. And then got to enjoy downtown Chicago, running around through River North area. So nice, summertime shy. Got to walk around, see the city. Soldier Field has a great view of the skyline from the press box seating. So nice out there. Get out to Detroit, and then I was staying in Dearborn, Michigan, kind of in between the airport and the city. So close to the Lions facility as well. Just Ubered around there, but it's not like it was very action packed because it was more like get to work. I saw downtown Detroit a little bit. I do like Ford Field. I wish the Tigers would have been in town to catch a game at Comerica Park on the day between, but no such luck. The Cubs weren't in town either in Chicago, but 11-day road trip, and I did it all with a carry-on. Not even check the bag. Yeah.
Veteran move.
Some mid-trip luggage. Well, Ira Winterman, of course, he gave it to me my first Heat trip ever as his backup writer when he found out that I took I checked the bag for a 2-city NBA trip for 4 days. And he said, "You're what? You're waiting on your baggage?"
Yeah. Right. Got to get to the airport early for the departing flight. Yeah, screw all that mess. Yeah.
Yeah. So I learned from him. I invested in a carry-on. I didn't have a good carry-on bag, so made sure to get that squared away. Used it ever since. Now, how about some football? Chicago, it was interesting how the Bears played with that fake physicality. So we see that Aaron Brewer noting it now, still a topic today. But I was okay with how the Dolphins handled it. It's different fields. The Dolphins are on defense is on one field. It's not like they got to get word from the offense. Hey, they're tackling us over here. Why don't you guys do the same? All right, we're going to start hitting. No, you want to practice the right way, how you're set out to practice. So, and I feel like the Dolphins will show physicality when it's time to show physicality, not in that setting. I don't think that's where you need to. Preseason game, we do get to see the starters for series, so that was fine from Tua, getting them to the 1 yard line. We didn't see the physicality at the goal line though, so that was the big takeaway there. Detroit Lions cooked them, offense and defense, and special teams, and probably social media too from that first joint practice. They won in all 4 phases of the game. Amon-Ra was having his way. The next day, Tua, first day, he said he was frustrated. But the next day, I like how the offense bounced back. He didn't have Tyreek Hill. He had Jalen Waddle kind of limited, doing a little bit more second day. So it was nice to see the offense bounce back. Day 2 of joint practice against the Lions. Defense, those corners were still getting cooked by Amon-Ra. Jameson Williams joining him, where it was against Kendall Sheffield and Ife Melifonwu going deep for one. Jameson Williams. He dances and showboats for every play he makes.
Yeah.
So he was letting them have it over there. So the Dolphins defense still they weren't getting pressure either against Lions O-line, which is very strong. So defense still had a rough day out there for both days. Offense did pull even kind of with Detroit. And then you have the preseason game. A lot of the backups played. Wrapped up with that Ethan Robinson incredible play. Quinn Ewers throwing 2 touchdowns, so that was cool to see. And then right back at it for finally now we wrapped it up with joint practices against the Jaguars, which I think that was the best one for the Dolphins because I feel they won on both ends with both the offense and defense. Probably narrow edge, I would say at least, with the Dolphins winning this last joint practice.
Okay, so let me ask you this real quick, Furones. Physicality and aggression and these type of culture change have been topics in the off season. Did you see that progressing from Chicago to Detroit to Jacksonville? I think we did, but I would have liked to have seen them punch the Bears in the mouth. I would have seen them like to come out and punch Detroit in the mouth, not to have to go through that day one thing of, oh, we're playing tackle football, let's respond. I like the way that they came out against Jacksonville, like you said. Did you see a steady progression? Did you see it from play calling, from player actions on the field, from player reactions on the sideline? What did you see along those lines? Because that's what I'm really interested in. From afar, I thought I saw a progression, but I would like to see more. It's why I say it's a tougher team, but not a tough team. What did you see along those lines?
Well, and that's why it was good to face Bears and the Lions, NFC North teams. Yeah. Sure, the Lions are a dome team as well, but I mean, up front they are solid in the trenches.
Right. Right.
You're getting reps for Chop Robinson going against Penei Sewell.
Yeah.
All right.
Right. Being Aiden Hutchinson out there.
You're having to block Aiden Hutchinson. Yeah. Larry Borum had a tough time. You would want Austin Jackson at least.
Right.
When you're going against Aiden Hutchinson. But, tough time for Larry Borum over there. But it's going to be. You want to see that. You want to be exposed to that now. And I don't know if they needed to all right, Bears joint practice. Then we got into some scuffling, right? Then there was a big one. Mike McDaniel getting in there.
Right.
I wrote that it wasn't exactly Jeff Van Gundy on on the ankle of Alonzo Mourning, but he got into the thick of things to break it up. Like his face was in the line of fire of a potential punch thrown with the way he got in there to separate guys. So. They responded as far as like letting the Bears know, like, we're not down with what you're doing. It's not like they then decided, okay, now we're going to start tackling, because then it turns into something that it's like if you're playing a street ball basketball game and then all someone does is just foul every time and then complain that you call a foul. Well, then there's never going to be any scoring because you're literally just holding a guy anytime there's any threat to score. It's like if you just say, all right, well, then I'm going to foul you. And then you just have this mess of a basketball game where it's just everyone hitting each other instead of actually playing the sport. You're practicing to practice, and the rules that were set out were to thud. So you don't need guys getting hurt because of a live tackle when they weren't prepared to. It's different when you lay out the rules and say, we're playing tackle football. Then now your body is in a position to brace for impact, to deliver it when you need to. So I don't think you need to resort to now tackling back and then, potentially putting guys out to injury when that wasn't what was talked about to begin with. So I kind of agree with the Dolphins' approach of, no, we're not doing that. We're here to practice. We're here to practice the right way and show physicality when it comes time to show that the tackling type of physicality.
All right. So let's migrate over to our final segment, and it's what you want to see or what you're expecting to see from this final round of cuts on Tuesday by 4 p.m. But first, Carl Beckert asks, are you guys satisfied with the O-line and DBs? These are the Achilles heel of the team. And so as we talk about the cuts, these are areas that I expect them to go out and hit the waiver wire after these cuts are made. No, I'm not satisfied with either of those. They are the Achilles heel of the team. And I do expect them, after they make these cuts, to go out and get some help in both of those areas, backup offensive line and with the DB, specifically with the cornerbacks. And then Chris is saying here, I'm wondering, what do you think the benchmarks are for Greer and McDaniel to retain their jobs both individually and as a group? I'm not of the mind that if McD goes, Greer definitely goes too. I say you get the broom. I've got both of those guys tied at the hip, good or bad. If one stays, the other stays. If one goes, the other goes. I'm not sure that if you got rid of McDaniel and a quality coach was coming in, that he would want Chris Greer as his general manager. I just don't know that a quality coach would have a lot of confidence. I'll just throw out a name, a John Gruden, which I know that's got its own hang-ups, right, for a lot of reasons. But I'm just throwing out a name of a veteran coach of Steve Ross not making a first-time head coach hire again, of him getting a veteran coach. I'm not sure that he would be happy to work with Chris Greer. So I've got those two tied together. That's the answer to that, Chris. And then, yes, I expect them to hit the waiver wire hard. What are you got any thoughts on that, Furones?
Yeah, on O-line and corner, no, I am not satisfied. Yeah. If that was the opening question. And, yeah, it'll be an interesting cut-down day. I like so for readers, Chris Perkins' 53-man roster projections are up on sunsentinel.com. Yep. So, yeah, I agree with most of what you had. I saw you had Dante Trader off, and I feel like you got, you didn't draft him in the 5th round to leave him off. So I feel like you got to find a way to keep him on there. But, yeah, there's a whole other topic of who do you bump off to make that spot. So,
let me ask you this. I had 6 edge rushers. I had those top 4. Yeah, and Quentin Bell and Cam Good are both special teams core guys, yes. Right? So, yeah. Yes. So so that's one area that I think the Dante Trader thing kind of works against Dante Trader Jr. But what else are you?
Maybe it also depends on if Ashton Davis is an IR placement. So it depends on how they use those 2 IR spots.
Right.
So because you have Andrew Meyer now.
Right.
It was Andrew Meyer. Who else did you have on one of those?
Ethan Bonner.
And Ethan Bonner, right? So maybe it depends on which one is something that they could come back from sooner.
Right.
Yeah, I think Andrew Meyer probably would have to use one because he's not close yet. Liam Eichenberg, you have the PUP spot, so you're good there. But yeah, it depends on if Bonner could come back sooner, or if it is if Ashton Davis, sure, maybe it plays out the way you're saying, and he is able to be on. But I mean, you risk yourself with Dante Trader getting picked up elsewhere, because I do think when healthy, he is a fine safety. He's shown some of the natural abilities that you want, natural qualities that you want back there. So, but it is tough. It is tough to find a way to get him on there.
It is. Kenna Rankin says, we need a cornerback anyway. I'm glad we didn't go running back. And this is with the Brian Robinson Jr. move. Is cornerback the number one need? Is that the number one move that you're making? Is that the position that you are going to pay someone, or would you pay a backup offensive lineman? I would pay a starting corner. Rasul Douglas is sitting back there, by the way, what's wrong with Rasul that Xavier Howard gets a job before he does? Is he asking for too much money? That's kind of bizarre. I see Asante Samuel Jr. with the injury. That's probably the big deal with him. But with Rasul Douglas, he's still out there. And Xavier Howard, who Lou Anarumo is the connection there, the defensive coordinator in Indy, who was the former Dolphins defensive backs coach when Xavier was here. But is corner your number one need right now? It is for me, starting corner.
Yes. Number one need, for sure.
Yeah. What else as far as the roster moves and the cuts are you seeing, are you thinking of? Is there anything that would surprise you coming up here, whether it's, the 7th round picks? We know Quinn Ewers is going to make it. Zeke Biggers, would that surprise you? It wouldn't surprise me. Any of the Cam Smith being retained, would that surprise you? Anything along those lines that would surprise you?
Yeah, I want to see Cam Smith in his final preseason game. You see, early in camp, I was kind of feeling like, boy, yeah, it's going to happen. He's gone. And then he got hurt, of course. So then you could hear the frustration in Mike McDaniel's voice, like, we're still waiting to see it. And you said, boy, his days here are numbered. Now, I thought he was fine in the preseason game against the Lions. Now, he was down on the depth chart, though. Let's also put that into perspective. Like,
but Cam is a core special teams guy, though, also.
And he's
like Tanner Connor.
Yeah. Right. So, that's a leg up for him, especially as Ethan Bonner is hurt now, because Ethan Bonner can be a gunner there. He's a strong candidate for the second job, or was, now he's hurt, but next to Elijah Campbell, or opposite Elijah Campbell. Plus Bonner, I really like him on the edge of the field goal block, possibly punt block too. I know you can tell me, you've seen all that, right? You've got a closer eye on the special teams, but
that's right. Yes,
that's what I think. You're actually watching those portions, those periods of practice. Yeah, but I mean, on the earlier topic of what it is for Mike and for Chris Greer, I don't even know if this year is so much about like a set in stone win total or achievement of get to the playoffs, a playoff win. I think what Stephen Ross is really going to look at is if there's a future. Now, because they're kind of turning it to building through a young core. If this rookie class looks to have the goods, plus Patrick Paul looks to be strong and Chop Robinson after his second year, now you're looking at a young core that you really like. And then if you do have that young core, even if they go 9-8 and miss the playoffs, then are you really going to be firing Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer when you see a path to an ascension for a young core and really like what you see out of the young players you have? I don't know if you would actually do that if you're Stephen Ross. So I'm sure a lot of fans, they want to see both of them gone no matter what. But I'm just telling you honestly what it's looking like, how this year will actually be assessed. I think it'll be just as much, if not more, about if there appears to be a future with especially this rookie class, which was a big one, because why did you let them draft this rookie class if not to let them see what they have? So I think if there are some signs that there's something there, then that could be another path for these two to keep their jobs, even if regular season win total isn't the preferred number.
Well, I'll say this as far as that, and I just don't understand why, if I'm Steve Ross, if they couldn't win with the best talent this franchise has had in 20 years, why you think they could win with lesser talent? And that to me is what it gets back to, that you had all these 30-somethings and Jalen Ramsey and Teron and Calais, and you have all this talent and you couldn't win with it, and now you're scaling down. Why would I think you can win with lesser talent? I want to see a strategic or philosophical change. And if I'm Steve Ross, that's what I'm looking for. That's why I keep saying I want to see more physicality. I want to see you run with the ball. If you keep doing the same thing with lesser talent, how's that going to work out? It's going to be a worse result, or at best, it's going to be mediocrity. You're stuck in the mud. So if I'm Steve Ross, I want to see some substantive changes here. Did I say that right? Substantive changes. Some changes. Some meaningful changes. How about that?
Substantial.
There you go. Something like that. Some derivative of that. I don't know. I want to see some change, some meaningful, significant change, and that means in philosophy and playing style and that kind of thing. So I want to see that. To bring it back to the roster cuts, I want to see it reflected in these roster cuts also, that if you don't think Keon Smith or Jackson Carman can give you what you want up front, I'm sorry, you got to go, because we're making a change not only to winning with youth and draftees. We're going to play some aggressive football. We're playing tackle football. The days of 7-on-7 for the Dolphins are over. So that's what I would want to see with Steve Ross. If I'm Steve Ross, and I want to see that reflected through the Chicago, Detroit, Jacksonville progression, through the roster cuts on Tuesday, through play calling against Indianapolis. I want to see change because what you've been doing has not worked. So that's kind of where I am on Greer and McDaniel, and I want to see that in roster cuts and continue to see that in the playing style.
Yeah, well, you knocked it out the park there.
There we go. All right.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so that's going to wrap it up. You got to leave on a high note,
Oh,
right?
yes.
That's going to wrap it up. All right, we thank you guys for joining us. We will let you know on social media when we will be on the air next. But for now, that's David Furones. I'm Chris Perkins. Thanks for watching Dolphins Deep Dive with Perkins.